Hey, what's up, guys? So I am going to show the tune and qualifying laps. If you're not interested in that, chapters are in the description and feel free to jump ahead. So here there's an afternoon race and we're 20%, so only 2 laps of fuel. They barely last 2 laps here. So the settings, they're the default settings from the ForzaTune app for this track. The only difference is the ride height, which is set to the minimum for front and back. And the spring rate will be different than the app just because I'm only at 20% fuel. So spring rate goes up and down with the fuel percentage as you move it up and down. I always set the spring rate with 100% fuel. All right, so let's see what we can do. In practice, I was able to get 2 laps in on mediums and 2 laps on softs. The braking points are similar to GT Spec series, but I'm still using the braking line in certain places. So here we will have some let up. I think on softs, you'd be more aggressive. I'm not sure if I could do it flat out, but it'd be close. On the first qualifying lap, I'm usually trying to just set a decent clean lap and then I'll get more aggressive. But being new to this track with this car, yeah, I'm kind of conservative. I don't attempt to take that flat out or anything. Coming up, we're looking for. Uh, well, I'll try to point out some braking points, but at this track, I tend to use. You'll notice that as you come up on turns, you'll have that red and yellow curbing will start, and a lot of times you brake just before that curbing starts. Here, I'm just kind of winging this one with the braking line, but I think there's a pole we can use back there. We're coming up here, you'll see the curbing on the left. I brake just before that. Here, I'm just winging it, getting on the gas, and then coming up, there'll be curbing on the left again that you want to brake just before. In GT Spec, a lot of times you can take this flat out, but I do have to let up a little bit here. And if you're not sure about your braking points, a good thing is to save the replay if you're not able to capture video to an external drive like I do. And go back and rewatch the replay, and you'll pick up on, take a really good lap, and you'll pick up on things that you can use as braking points instead of the braking line, and you will be more consistent once you're able to do that. But we set a decent lap. I'm not sure what a great time is here, but anytime you're at the top by a couple of seconds, not bad. Be it maybe just a touch more aggressive, but still not trying to go flat out yet there. And here again, you're braking just before the curbing starts on the left. And this, you're just playing this by feel, basically. And coming up, we're looking for the curbing on the left and braking just before it. And then this is just feel. Once you get used to a car and the rhythm, you can, you'll kind of have a feel for it. You won't even have to think about it somewhat. Here, I'm still thinking about it a little bit and using the braking line in places, but I am, by this point, getting a little more comfortable on the softs. You'll see in the race I have a couple of places where I mess up on the mediums, because as you start to adjust to the softs, then you go back to mediums and the track's not rubbered in. And in general, I make mistakes regardless. So
30 seconds.
And we do qualify first. So 2:13.8. If you watch closely the delta, I was up by a few tenths and then messed up, but then was able to gain a few tenths back late in the lap. So I do think a low to mid 213 is possible. Maybe a 213 flat or so. Once you get comfortable, tweak the tune a little bit, possibly. So here we're going to go with, I'm going to try medium to medium strategy. So this is my first race here, first session here at Spa. And the tires, they don't last quite as long in this car as the normal GT spec car. The GT spec, I would normally go medium soft, but I'm just going to go medium medium. And we've got Obama Jr. here behind us. And at the start of this race, I'm not really expecting much. I'm thinking if I can just get through turn one without someone taking me out, I'm probably going to pull away and not be much of a race. But so second place ends up hanging around for a while. It's a nice surprise. Have a little competition. Here I'm holding the gas around 55%, and then shift up to second fairly quick. First 2 gears are a little short, and for this series we can't change the gearings. I found a little trial and error that's the best way to get launched for me, at least so far. So we're kind of a little close, and then usually this separates everybody if you can take this decent, which it does. Third and fourth fall back pretty quick. But Obama Jr. here, he's hanging really close, and I'm a little surprised by this. He may have just messed up qualifying and didn't post nearly as good of a time as he is capable of posting. And this is the only car I've driven in this series. I haven't tried any of the other cars. And this is the last day of this series, so by the time you watch this, it'll probably have ended. But I'm not that familiar with the car he's driving and what its strengths and weaknesses are, but clearly he's got a pretty good tune on it. And here, let's say that I went outside, but when I was editing the video, I watched that, and my tires are right on the curb. So worst case scenario, they're on the line. They're not. It looks like they're inside the line. So a little surprised that one was a clear violation. That's just one of the cases where I thought I could do a little more mediums than I could. But yeah, the first one I felt like I didn't go off the track. But it happens. And I messed that turn up. Got caught looking at the leaderboard and the rearview mirror, trying to make sure he wasn't gonna come flying in. And I messed up the turn. I turned too much. So it's really just a two-man race between us. We've left everyone else behind by quite a bit. Here, finally get a little separation and break the draft. They're doing a little better on that turn now. I'm afraid to be as aggressive as I was, in the beginning, just because of the penalty. And here, that's the place you can. I'm trying to figure out if I should even go to sixth gear or not on that last curve. And you'll notice I mix it up a couple of times before I finally settle on just staying in fifth. A better job on that turn this time. We're gradually building up a little bit of cushion on second place, but with the penalty, and he doesn't have a penalty, he's right there. And because this car seems to 4 laps of fuel is 30 something percent, I'll have to look again, but I did check. So if I were to put enough fuel in for 7 laps, the difference between putting in 4 laps of fuel and 7 laps was 2.5 tenths per lap. So by doing it this way, I should save roughly 1 second. But then when I add fuel in the pit, that's going to cost me an extra 0.65 or so seconds. But overall, I should save around 3 tenths by doing that. Not sure if it actually works out that way, but in GT spec, usually 7 laps, it's not that big of a deal because the gas tank seems bigger or uses less fuel or something. But here, 7 laps is, you're looking at almost half a tank of fuel or more possibly. Can't remember exactly, but I know on some of the tracks, I mean, just to do 2 laps is 20%. So those 20% is what I was using in qualifying for 2 laps. They're pulling away a little bit, but he is just hanging around. And then we've got a big lead on the rest of the field. We've got minor tire wear, and we will hit moderate before the end of this lap. And because we hit minor tire wear at the end of the second lap on qualifying, I know that trying to get 3 laps out of softs isn't going to work. At least not in this car, the way I have it set up. But even with minor tire wear, it's maybe a little slower, but it's not bad. here we hit moderate. I'm guessing that second place, his tires are wearing down quite a bit also because he fades right here before the pits. But somehow, when we go into the pits, we've got a over 3 second lead. But we get fuel, which costs us 6 tenths. But somehow, when we come out, it's only a 1.7 or 1.8 second lead. We lose around a second or so somehow. And this is kind of iffy. I feel like I was trying to turn right out of the pits, but it sends me out straight. And there were a couple of people I noticed in intermission that were on hard, so I'm assuming they get a hard soft strategy. The guy in first is one of those. But with his penalty, I'm almost, I guess, within range. He's on hards, and he's probably at least minor tire wear, so we're backing him down pretty easy. And that one, I did go off track. It was close, but I did go off. And here, we had to drive for a few turns and totally messed that up.
Total time penalty is about 3.5 seconds.
Making life hard on myself. And he goes into the pits. Look, and that worked out perfect. So I didn't have to worry about getting slowed up trying to pass him. And we're going to put together our best lap of the race right here when it's needed most to create that cushion. I think Obama Jr., he must have messed up the last turn a little bit. I gained much more than I should there. But we need to stay at least 3 seconds ahead due to penalties. in here, this is where I finally kind of figure out, just leave it in fifth when you're on mediums. And we get a 2:14.5, which on mediums, not a bad time. We do mess up a little bit on this last lap. I should, I think 2:14 flat or something like that is possible at the end when the track's fully rubbered in, but mess up a little bit. So even though we're off pace just a little bit, we are extending the lead for the most part. So it's around 5.5 seconds, and at this point I'm not too concerned. Just make sure I don't make a major mistake. And there I almost got on the gas just a smidge too early and almost ran it wide. So just gotta nail this final couple of turns and should have it. They're not bad for the first race. I'm pleased. Say this is becoming my favorite car on the wheel. On the wheel, the Viper feels good. I really love the C8, Corvette C8 on the wheel, but this car feels so nice, and it's just a little faster than the GT Spec series. So yeah, just really enjoyed this one. Hope it comes back around again, or at least maybe in the endurance race there'll be something that I can use this car in. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.